पत्रं पुष्पं फलं तोयं यो मे भक्त्या प्रयच्छति तदहं भक्त्युपहृतमश्नामि प्रयतात्मनः.
Today we sit with one of the most tender verses in the entire Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 26. Listen to the sound of it first. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tad aham bhakti upahritam ashnaami prayatatmana. Krishna is saying, whoever offers me a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water with devotion, that offering of love from a person of pure heart, I accept. And the word he uses is even stronger than accept. He says, ashnaami, I eat it. Let us take the words one by one, because every word here is chosen with care. Patram means a leaf, and it comes from the root pat, which means to fall. A leaf is literally the thing that falls, the thing a tree throws away on its own. It is the most worthless object in nature. Pushpam is a flower, from the root push, to bloom, to flourish. Phalam is a fruit, from the root phal, to ripen. And keep that word in your pocket, because phalam is also the Gita's word for the result of our actions, as in karma phala. Toyam is simply water, and here is the quiet genius of the list. It descends. Fruit, flower, leaf, water. Each item cheaper than the last, until we arrive at the one thing on earth that even the poorest human being possesses. The price of reaching God has been deliberately walked down to zero. Then comes the word that carries the entire verse, bhaktyaa, with devotion, from the root bhaj, which does not mean to worship from a distance. It means to share, to partake, to participate in love. And notice something beautiful. In this one small verse, Krishna says the word devotion twice. Bhaktyaa in the first line, bhakti upahritam in the second, the gift carried near with love. Sanskrit poets never repeat a word by accident in a verse this compact. The repetition is the teaching. Remove the leaf, the flower, the fruit, the water from this verse, and it still stands. Remove bhakti, and the whole verse collapses. The object is just the wrapping. Devotion is the gift. Now, where does this verse appear? Krishna speaks it to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra in the 9th chapter, the chapter Krishna himself calls the King of Knowledge and the King of Secrets. And the placement matters. Just before this verse, Krishna has been describing the grand religion of his day, elaborate, expensive Vedic sacrifices performed by experts, rituals that could purchase heaven itself. And he says, yes, those worshippers reach heaven, and when their merit runs out, they fall right back down. Heaven, bought with ritual, expires like a ticket. And then immediately he says, but whoever offers me a leaf with love reaches me. The Supreme Himself, cheaper than heaven. In one stroke, every gate around the sacred, money, priesthood, expertise, social status, comes down. The word he uses is simply yaha, whoever, anyone. It is said that the great teacher Ramanuja would weep at this verse, saying that Krishna speaks here like someone hungry, like the Lord of the universe is waiting eagerly for any excuse to accept our love. And there is a deeper hidden reading that the tradition treasures. The four offerings, it says, are not really things at all. They are you. Patram, the leaf, your body, which like a leaf will one day fall. Pushpam, the flower, your heart, which must learn to open. Phalam, the fruit, the results of your actions, offered up rather than clutched, which is the central discipline of the whole Gita. And Toyam, the water, your tears, your genuine feeling. Body, heart, actions, emotions. The only real offering was never on the plate. It is the offerer. You find this same truth shining in every tradition. In the Gospel of Mark, Jesus watches the wealthy pour large sums into the temple treasury, and then a poor widow drops in 2 tiny copper coins, and he says she gave more than all of them, because they gave from their surplus, and she gave everything she had. The Hebrew Bible says it in one line: man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. The Sufis built a whole science around Niya, intention, teaching that the weight of any act is set entirely by what is behind it. And modern psychology wonderfully agrees. Studies of gift giving show that the price of a gift has almost no connection to how loved the receiver feels. What moves people is perceived thoughtfulness. It is the thought that counts, turns out to be a research finding. Every parent who has ever taped a child's crayon scribble to the refrigerator door while expensive gifts sit forgotten has lived this verse. The drawing is patram, a leaf, and it is treasured because it arrived soaked in love. There is one condition in the verse, and only one, and Krishna places it as the very last word. Prayatatmana, from the one whose self is purified, gathered, sincere. Not wealthy, not learned, not perfect, just undivided in the moment of offering. You cannot hand over the leaf while secretly withholding the heart. So let me leave you with 2 questions and 1 small practice. First, where in your life are you withholding an offering, a phone call, an apology, a new beginning, because you are waiting until it can be impressive enough? This verse says the leaf is already sufficient. What would you do today if you believed that? Second, when you give your time, your work, your gifts, how much is given bhaktyaa, from love, and how much carries a hidden invoice, an expectation of return? Would your giving survive if it could never be repaid or even noticed? And here is the practice, and it is as small as the verse itself. Once today, before you eat or drink anything, pause for 5 seconds. Hold the plate or the glass of water and silently offer it to whatever you hold highest with one simple sentence: this first, then me. Then eat. That is all. It costs nothing. Remember, even water qualifies. But done daily, it slowly turns consumption into communion and an ordinary meal into a meeting. Patram pushpam phalam toyam, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, water. The infinite has set the price of reaching him at 0, and the currency is love. The only question the verse leaves us with is not what can I afford to give, but how much of myself is in what I already have to offer.
पत्रं पुष्पं फलं तोयं यो मे भक्त्या प्रयच्छति तदहं भक्त्युपहृतमश्नामि प्रयतात्मनः।